Demetrius Lopes, Соединенные Штаты Америки. Начальный клинический опыт применения внутрисосудистой визуализации с высоким разрешением.
Good morning, everyone, and everything is going well in Chicago, and I wish I could be able to be in person with you guys and be able to discuss this hot topic of intravascular imaging with high-frequency OCT. This is an update from previous discussions we had showing the concept in the past, but now we actually have neuroclinical cases that were done in Toronto and Buenos Aires, and the first in-man experience is here, and I want to show with you some updates. So the main goal of intravascular imaging, as you know, was to develop a system for neuronavigation, and the device stiffness as well is the ability to obtain images through tortuosity. How reliable was in the past systems we would place the catheter into the internal carotid artery, but when you did the pullback of the imaging, we would not be able to get all the images. The catheter would break or would have a lot of issues with clearing the blood from the Circle-Willis flow. So these were challenges we had before, but I have to say that the device stiffness, the imaging tortuosity, through tortuosity, the clearance of the blood from the Circle-Willis, the amazing spatial resolution, and the speed of obtaining the images, everything on this new system from Gentuity worked very well. So the initial 31 cases was really a great success. Now, the main issue here is that you have this console, and then you're gonna bring this to the Angel Suite. This is it has on it an adapter that allows you then to connect this probe here. So this area is then connected to this part here, right there, and this stays on the the end of the table. So when you are able to first navigate, you're going to use this probe here. This is called the VisM. This is actually about the same size as a Synchro 14 wire. So imagine that you can place whatever microcatheter you like to use for a coiling procedure, for example. It could be, SL10 or any type of catheter that you're really comfortable bringing into the anatomy. You remove the wire and then you place the VisM wire inside of the microcatheter. So that is why this is a huge revolution, because the size of the probe that obtains the image is very much the same size as devices that we're used to use in our space today. So this is a little more detail of how there's a leading edge, and then you can see here, this is the area where the image, this light source, will basically be pulled back. So this is kind of the window on the wire that has a light source. So then when this is connected, this area here is connected to the pullback system, then the whole thing just navigates through the blood vessel. You do lose access. So I'll show you a video of that. So you can see here that when you pull back using this machine, the images are going to show here. You can put that into your Siemens or Philips system too. But the idea here is that you get 250 images a second. You get a 10 microns resolution inside of the vessel, and you can get as wide as 7 millimeters beyond the probe, so that it gives you an image that could be even in the subarachnoid space. Here is how this actually looks like. So you actually go, you see the wires being pulled back, and the image is being obtained as you pull back. So this pullback has to be very controlled, because it will be very important. So you see the speed here, 250 images per second. It's a lot of images that are obtained. And while you're doing this pullback, you inject contrast, so that the contrast will allow this to be basically clear the blood. And this can be done very nicely with intermediate catheters that we have today. Why do all that? Well, now you have the intravascular imaging done. You can see the resolution of the blood vessel wall. You can see here basically the internal elastic membrane, the external elastic membrane, basically the resolution that we never had before. We think that this would be very helpful for pathology catheterization, device sizing, monitoring acute and chronic vascular response to treatments, as well as to give us a prognosis and prevent complications on a lot of our cases. So this is the group that got prepared for the first-in-man cases. You probably know a lot of the folks in this picture here, and but a special thanks to also Giovanni Yugi on the engineers involved on development of this device. It's really been great to work with him in partnership. Obviously, all the preclinical work done with Matt Gunis and Vanya at the UMass. Now, this is the techniques for the pullback. So you see that you have a regular microcatheter, and in this case, we created different types of setups, how you pull back, but this is more details. And here you have the injection rate. So a lot of concerns in the coronaries are the amount of contrast that's used. But in this case here, you can, 300 PSI, you're injecting through 58 catheter, basically rates that we're very used to, between 5 to 3 mLs per second on the flush rate. Now, this is the hot stuff. Now, this is what's new for this meeting this year. This is a case, a stroke case done in Buenos Aires by Pedro Lilik's team. And you can see how exciting, because imagine a case like this. Normally, you have an indication to do the procedure, but when you come in to do the thrombectomy, things don't go as efficiently as you'd like to. So you try your first pass, the classic setup, Cat6, Trevo, and you're trying to do the basically aspiration with stent retriever technique. And unfortunately, the first pass, you cannot clear the clots. So first thing comes to mind, maybe it's a technical issue. Let's do second pass, third pass, fourth pass, and finally the clot is cleared. But you can see that there's some defect on the wall, more at the M2 level there, and so was considered a TK2A flow. And what is the problem? Is it a clot, intracranial stenosis, a dissection? So all that comes to mind. And then this is a post-CT scan. Obviously, the OCT became available to the team in Buenos Aires. So on day 6, they decided to come back and do an OCT run to see what had happened. The patient still has a little defect in the vessel there. So we can now see that this is the area of interest to see what happened there. Because you're using a very small microcatheter to a 17 to go across, this is the workflow. You see right here, they're connecting to the source. So the wire is connected to this console through that area there. And then you are able to basically be ready to do this pullback. But the microcatheter crossing, that was very easy to go. This is calibrating the machine now, so you can navigate through a tight stenosis with a 17 microcatheter, and you're able to then place the probe in position. You can see here how they're, it looks like a wire-like structure. This is the pullback device. And here you inject the contrast, and as you inject the contrast, you do the pullback. You can see the position right there. You can see the wire here, and the light source is about here in the back of that, right about there. So now when the contrast is injected, you can see here, it will move back in the anatomy. So you can see there. So during that pullback, the images are obtained. And this is basically what you see right there. So now the catheter, the OCT imaging probe is moving back, and you can see the anatomy, not only the blood vessel, but also the subarachnoid space on the Sylvan fissure. You're appreciating to see. And here you can see that there's some debris right about there that are in the lumen of the vessel. And this is very helpful to understand that this is actually not a dissection. And you can see here that in the end, the characteristics of this in the lumen of the vessel is actually still a white thrombus. So this is really very revealing, because there is no plaque or any type of injury to the internal elastic membrane, despite of 4 passes with the stent retriever. So this is really incredible knowledge of having the ability to see the blood vessel and understand that all the passes we didn't cause more injury, that at least could be seen on this technology. And also what's in the lumen is a white thrombus. Other cases that were done, the stroke, of course, was a really amazing, first time ever done like this. But is the flow diversion is probably the one that we've been more excited about, because you can see the sizing of the device may be better. But also in this case here, there was a placement of the device, but when you did the OCT, there's a malposition. You can see here that there's a distance between the artery and the flow diverter. So the wire was brought back into the device, just a wire, no balloon. And just by doing that maneuver with the wire, you have now a better position, the same site as you had the picture before. So this is really important, that you have the ability to check not only the size of the device before the procedure, but also you have the ability to check after an adjustment, such as angioplasty or wire manipulation inside of the flow diverter. And that's really unique to confirm that and confirm the vessel position, the position of the flow diverter to the vessel. Now, this is another case that was done as a MCA bifurcation aneurysm, but there was actually a weird appearance of the carotid artery at the bifurcation level. In this case, these are the measurements done of the aneurysm neck. Certainly, if the strategy was to place an intrasaccular device, it allows you to see actually the opposition. You see here, there is a little bit of an issue with the contour device. The contour device is in the neck of the aneurysm right about here. This is actually the detachment area right here. And you can see the struts, the little mesh of cross there. And this mesh is the contour device in the neck. But here there's a little malposition of the device. And so that is something that is really interesting, because otherwise it's very difficult to notice that there are any problems with that area if you don't see this view. So either the web or the contour, you can now see the relationship to the neck of the aneurysm. Really powerful. Interesting enough, here you can see in another view how this would look like in relationship to the vessel. You can see how the device is opposed in relationship, and there's a little bit of a gap there. So this may make you decide to place a stent or to do something, adjust the device, and so forth. The other interesting thing is that in the MCA territory, again, you can see now the subarachnoid space. So you can see the arachnoid membrane and the vessels in passage that are near the MCA. All that is a view that we never had before, and it's definitely very interesting for the possibilities that may bring. That artery change, that area in the neck, if it was a fenestration or if it was a dissection, also after doing the OCT, it was evident that there was a dissection on that part, and so that clarified the old dissection. This is not an acute dissection, and gave us some feedback of what that finding was. This is another case that was with a P64 flow diverter that it has an HPC coating, small choroidal artery aneurysm. This is the pre-treatment, post-treatment, and a 6-month follow-up. And you can see, of course, here the device was maybe a little compressed in this area here. On the follow-up, you can see now that in 6 months, there's a little bit of a stenosis in the area where there's a little compression there. So what is that stenosis? Is this something significant or not? What's causing that? So here is the area. You can see that there's a neo intima hyperplasia. The flow diverter is here inside of the lumen, of course, and the lumen there. And then you have a uneven hyperplasia of the intima. And this gives you some insight that this is maybe something we could monitor and will likely remodel over time. Now, this is another case that shows basically a red thrombus in the area that the flow diverter is covering the neck of the aneurysm. You have, I'm sorry, in this case here, not so much in the area that has coils, but you see how the artifacts are not so bad. You can see the flow diverter in place, and you have a large coil mass there, but you don't see with intravascular image a tremendous artifact. So I think that is really interesting. In the areas that you have branches or basically there's flow going through the flow diverter, not infrequently you will see some red thrombus in that area. So a little bit different than the white thrombus and on its characteristics. And definitely may help you and decide if you need more antiplatelets and so forth. So this is really another interesting way to use this technology to see apposition, to see the presence or not of thrombus inside of the flow diverter, and to appreciate the healing of the flow diverter, like we saw the case with the intimal hyperplasia, and maybe also in the case of endosacral devices, we saw the apposition to the neck and then the decision. Certainly, if you didn't use on the first time around, when you have a failure, we can also understand better where the failure happened and why that happened. One of the things we are hopeful is this issue of today to obtain simulation of our devices. Many times we don't have the ground truth, which is actually the position of the device in relation so now you can see a 10 micros resolution of each one of the struts. The endosacral devices as well as the flow diverters, they're becoming smaller and smaller struts. So it's harder to see that on the angiographic resolution. But with OCT, we may be able to do a better identification or where the device actually end up staying, and so that becomes then a better source of information for the simulation of device specific simulation when you have OCT maps or LCT data to create the simulation. Here, 2 articles on stroke and on Nature that we publish with the team that has been involved on the development of OCT. And I would welcome you to take a look and join us on this. It's a really exciting new part of our field and adds a new dimension with so many different possibilities. So thank you so much for the invitation. And this is the update for now. More to come soon. Bye-bye.